Hi, everyone. Today I'm going to be talking about social and behavioral epidemiology and what social determinants of health are. This is a really important topic for everyone to know because at some point in your life, you may face a determinant, and it's really important to have some background information on that and to just have knowledge because knowledge is power. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is what exactly is a social determinant. So a social determinant is a circumstance in which people or circumstances in which people grow up with or live in or work in or their age, and how these inequalities reduce their access to opportunity. The opportunity in question could be healthcare, education, community projects, things like that. I want you all to visualize something for me. I want you to think about an area in your city that people say is like a little bit run down, may have, lower socioeconomic status. And I want you to think about what exactly is in that area. Specifically, are there grocery stores? Are there health clinics, schools? And does public transportation even run through the area? For me, I can think of a couple places. And in both of those places, there is one grocery store and it's a corner market. I know that public transportation only runs through one of them. And I know that there is one health clinic that the two neighborhoods share. And it's very small. It's like a community health clinic. So obviously you can see that this would be a very big issue for someone who may not have a car, or they may have health issues that they need to go to a hospital for, or anything. People that need to go commute to their job that might be outside of the city. This is a really big issue because in these lower socioeconomic neighborhoods, you see this greater, for lack of a better word, a more unfair environment. These people are sharing a small health clinic. These houses are practically stacked on top of each other, and they're forced to share a community clinic that maybe has a couple doctors. So if someone feels like maybe a lump on their breast, it might be a while before they even get an appointment. And that is unfortunate and really sad. So oftentimes social disparities or health disparities can occur because of racism. And racism, to simplify it, is structuring opportunity or assigning value based on what you think about someone's ethnic group or how that they look. And there are several different forms of racism that I'm going to go into down here. There is implicit bias, and this is a unconscious attitude or belief geared towards an ethnic group. So this could just be maybe someone, they aren't outwardly racist. They're not making comments about people or their ethnic groups, but maybe they choose not to hire someone because they think, this ethnic group, they're harder workers. Well, technically that's racist because you're kind of assuming that these people aren't going to work as hard as another race just because of the color of their skin. So again, it's usually unconscious and people don't really realize that they're doing it, but it's the unfortunate part is that they don't realize that they're doing it, so they don't ever change. Explicit bias would be an intentional act of racism. This would just be plain old racism that we see every day on the news, or we see in the papers, we see in the books. That's explicit bias. That would just be saying, terrible things about an ethnic group or a community of people. Institutionalized racism would be like unfair policies and practices and procedures that create unequal outcomes for people of color and usually benefit white people. This would be, for example, let's say you're working at a hotel and you have a very strict uniform policy, and the CEO of the hotel tells a Black woman she can't wear her hair in cornrows because it's not professional. That would be institutionalized because cornrows are a protective hairstyle for women of color, specifically Black women. And again, if that's how she chooses to wear her hair, and if that is, you know, a part of her culture and a part of her community, then they are creating unfair policies saying that these people can't wear a protective hairstyle. And therefore they might get fired because they're not allowed to wear their hair in order to protect it. So you can see how that would be unfair. And internalized racism would be people of color believing in stereotypical attitudes towards people in their own group. So that would be me saying, because I'm white, I would say, you know, white people are horrible people, they're lazy and whatever else. That would just be me leaning into the stereotype that's already there about white people. So a little bit more information. Racism within the medical community creates an astronomical amount of unequal access to basic healthcare. And they're often key drivers in poor health outcomes for people of color. And I'm going to talk more about this in the next few bullet points here. According to the CDC, minority groups have the highest rate of disease. Hypertension, diabetes, asthma, heart disease, even cancer, things like that. And that's all because of, if you think back to my first example, that community that has to share one health clinic and it takes months to even get in to see a doctor. That's why these people are probably having healthcare or health issues, you know, earlier, but they can't get in, maybe because they don't have appointments, maybe because they can't get there. They don't live near one, whatever the case may be, they don't have insurance, they don't have money to do that. And this is why they are having these poor health outcomes, because they don't have access to these things as regularly as other people might. And the last thing I want to talk about is the incidence of cancer in people of color. Like I said earlier, that obviously disease is higher in these groups. And that's because, again, multitude of reasons, but the University of California, San Francisco Cancer Registry reported that Hispanic women have the highest incidence of cervical cancer. And second is Black women. And this is, again, could be due to social determinants of health. If you don't know already, there is a vaccine, like a preventative vaccine for cervical cancer, particularly HPV. And these people might not have access to getting the HPV vaccine because they can't get into the doctor or whatever the case may be. And that is why these people have a higher incidence of these diseases that can, you know, potentially kill them if they don't get these fixed or addressed. So it's super important that everyone stays, you know, they take this all into consideration. Or if you're watching this, it's important that you take this into consideration, because there are a lot of unfair and unequal things that are happening in the United States and all over the world. And it's super important that you or everyone is conscious about the things that they're doing and how this may affect other people in the US. But thank you for watching, and have a good rest of your day.